morning. So, thanks Al for the introduction. Over the last couple of years, working in the industry, it became very apparent that the industry that we all love and trust within this private aviation does have its flaws, as does many industries. We also identified that whilst our traditional customer is a high net worth individual or corporate, they fall into two groups. They fall into the group that want to purchase the aircraft, as Steve will know, and then they fall into the group that would like to charter the aircraft. And they can be in both sets of groups. One of the big issues that the industry faces is the imbalance between the available aircraft for charter and the aircraft that are actually out there in the marketplace. What we came across very early on was that if a high net worth individual was going out to buy his long-range, ultra-long-range BizJet aircraft, once he's paid his 60 second-hand, 90 brand new, 100 million, whatever dollars he's going to spend for his aircraft, despite the fact that the broker has said, oh, you can offset some of your costs by chartering it out, how many of those aircraft do you think actually become available for charter? Very few, because the mistress or the missus would like to leave their slippers under the second seat. The captain doesn't like to do how to go into the pilot's room. They'll tell you most pilots don't like to fly, even though they do in the corporate aviation world. They like to do their 75 hours a year flying for their private client. And if they have to work anymore, they get a little bit uppity about it. So what that happens is when these clients buy these aircraft, they don't become on the charter market. That has a knock-on effect to the charter market itself. Whilst there are 28,000 private jets registered, there are around about 11,000 available for charter worldwide, which traditionally is acceptable. But if we are now moving to, and we're seeing a big trend where the light, mid-range jets, they're holding their own, but where we're seeing growth in the charter market is of course on the ULRs, long range, and bizliners. The problem being with that is if you've got a bizliner client who wants to charter a jet from London to Singapore, there aren't any, or there's one aircraft available for charter in the UK. So therefore you've then got to bring that aircraft in from the Middle East or from the US, which of course then prices that flight out of the marketplace. So we're looking at ways that we can rebalance this imbalance in the work. One of the things that I've been working on for a while is to try and create a fund where we have a fleet of fully charterable aircraft. I keep looking at Steve because I think Steve heard it for the very first time back in 2016 and I gave me a hard time about it, I'm quite sure, so I'm waiting for that one coming up. However, with the changes in industry and the changes in technology coming around, obviously when we went out and spoke to a lot of banks and financiers, they loved the concept. They loved the idea. They went through the business model with a fine-tooth comb and they said, yes, we can see that this model can work. But then they also said, prove it. So we needed to raise some money to prove the model works. So then we started looking at the ICO market. We started looking, and we started to go very far down the ICO market. And then, of course, blockchain, Bitcoin, everything happens there, very unstable marketplace. However, what's transpired out of the Bitcoin and the ICO marketplace is an STO. Now, again, Al's going to love the acronyms, but an STO purely means a securitized token offering. And for those financiers in the room, it's really not that much dissimilar to a traditional investment or a secured investment. So what I'm going to talk about today is the entirely new investment model to fund the fleet acquisition and operation, and it's to be funded by digital assets. Before I do go into that, I just wanted to highlight one thing about our industry that we've heard so much about, the VTOLs, and the technology moving forward. And on the last panel, one true comment resonated with me very strongly, and that is that our industry, as good as it is, and the private jet industry worldwide, is a cottage industry. I'm going to say that again because most people will argue the hell with me on that. We are a cottage industry. Why are we a cottage industry? Because we have limited OEMs. We only have limited aircraft supply and we have limited customers. The customers that use our products, anything related with private jet, I think, if I recall from one of our conferences before, I think it's about 0.02% of the population in the world that would use or have touched private jets. So we're talking about a very small population. So we are a cottage industry in true facts. But a cottage industry that has a wealth of technology, a wealth of experience, and a wealth of new innovation coming through. But we have one major flaw, and that is we are still working in a Jurassic age with dinosaurs heading up a lot of these companies. And without them moving on with the times, we will never see this innovation move forward. That's my little rant over. So, and it's not aimed at any dinosaurs or Jurassic people in this room, it's just the industry in itself. And I think those that are laughing will know and understand where the frustration is, that we all, as a business, do find that. So what I was asked to do was to talk about how tokenisation works, and the impossible question to answer is how can you make money from aircraft ownership? When I've worked out now, I will let you know. But obviously, we've all seen the history of flight. We all know that flying, this is more about to do with the Jurassic age and people's understanding or lack of understanding about our industry. But what I was asked to do is, what is a security token and what is an STO? I'm sure many of you know what a cryptocurrency coin is. An independent of a platform. This is why it can raise high, it can go up and down very quickly. Last year, the crypto coin had a bumper price. I think it reached something like about $15,000, and then in October, it was then down to about $3,000. It can be used in any form of currency, and it's not linked to anything. It can be used in a native environment. An STO, on the other hand, is always linked to an asset or a utility. And that's an asset or a utility that the company have that's offering and issuing the token. So going back to Shearwater.Aero, where they lend against an asset, with an STO, you are raising capital against an asset. So the way that we would work it is the aircraft is the asset, and the token is secured in exchange for money against that asset. So therefore, it's a secure way of raising money rather than an ICO scenario. The STO fundraising, very similar to an ICO, but with certain regulations. And the other major point about STOs are that it's a regulated model. So unlike an ICO, anybody can go and can set up an ICO, it's unregulated, and people can and have lost money. An STO, people have and can lose money, however, it's highly regulated. There are several jurisdictions now that are opening up to STOs. Korea, we heard this morning that Korea are now opening up to STOs. Malta and Gibraltar are one of the most aggressive STO platforms and hosts in the world, but they also have stringent regulations. Not everybody can go and set up an STO. You have to follow certain rules and regulations. It has the advantages of the cryptocurrency, but it's also regulated, and that's the thing about the STO. So when you hear about STOs, securitized token offering, it is a regulated product. It's not as regulated as a bank and financial product, but it's still regulated. So hopefully this slide will show you a little bit more. You have the traditional financing in green, those of you on the coloured lines, it's on the left-hand side, and then the crypto side on the right-hand side. And the security tokens overlap both traditional and also crypto. So with a security token, it increases the liquidity of an asset, and it reduces management costs to allow the investors to participate in the private jet. You've got a minimum investment of 100,000. I hear you say, how can that work? Well, we're selling a token, so you're buying, it's not fractional ownership, before anybody jumps down that throat with me, it's not fractional ownership. The fund owns the aircraft. Just as if you go and invest on the stock market, you're buying into a fund. The same solution here. The aircraft will be owned by the fund. The title will be in the name of the fund. Your token will be listed to the fund which owns the assets, so therefore you are secure in that respect. Why do the tokens work in the aviation industry? Strangely enough, a lot of people that when you talk about investment, the private jet industry appears to be a sexy topic. People like the fact that they're thinking about investing in aviation, private jets, nice, big, shiny things. However, as we all know, the private jets are expensive, and therefore they are a cost to entry. The first time that I started going into, or fell into the aircraft sales, and I had a client, a very regular client of mine who used to charter and said he wanted to buy a jet. And we met in a hotel not too far away from here. And he said he told me he wanted to buy a jet. And I asked him what his mission was and why did he want a jet. And we spent an hour drinking a nice bottle of wine, then went and smoked a cigar. And he said, "So will you help me?" And I said, "No." And I said, "Why do you want to buy a jet? You get your checkbook out, take out $1 million, throw it down the toilet, and then you can do it. You're buying a jet, you're going to be wasting that sort of money." I did also give him the 3Fs, but he didn't want to, that's a very different conversation. So the fact is that, he insisted, but the reason I went to him and told him how much it's going to cost him to buy that jet is because we're still friends. He still talks to me. And 3 months after he took delivery of his jet, and he was spending all the money on his jet, on the costs and the servicing and the pilots and the crew, and just leaving it there. He didn't use his jet for 6 months, but still had to pay his bills. But he came up to me and said, "I'm glad you told me about that." Because some people don't do that, and you know what I'm talking about, Steve, with that people there are brokers out there that will not do that, they just want to make a sale. So making money in private jets is possible, and it's possible in certain ways. We need to raise the money to get the jets in, obviously. STOs can support that. Having lower investors, their exposure is limited. By having a fund to manage it, which will be the fund will be listed on the Singapore stock market, and it will be governed by the Singapore rules and regulations. But we see this STO option, and once it's proven, which it will be proven by the end of this year, we see this STO option as a great way to raise money for other areas within the private aviation industry. One of the questions that somebody asked is how do you make money from jet ownership? And that's always a very, very hard one to answer because, as we all know, it's a piece of metal that costs a lot of money. Whatever you do to it costs money. If the toilet breaks, it costs money. And it's not just like going down to the local hardware store and replacing that white piece of plastic. It has to be aviation grade because it's been made with something special. And they'll charge you $5,000 just for that little U-bend where you can pick it up. But again, this is aviation, safety comes first. So making money from jets is obviously going to be very challenging. However, I mentioned at the beginning the problems and the imbalance between supply and demand, and obviously the investment opportunity where we can capitalise on the imbalanced market. But how can we do that? Well, there are OEMs that are looking to incentivise to sell new jets. New jets, buying a new jet, making that profitable is going to be challenging, but it's still doable. There are also aircraft out there which are demonstrators, new, and those aircraft we can maximise into the fund. So with the BitGen fund, our plan, and it's not, obviously the plan is subject to change, but at the moment we are just signing off on 3 aircraft that we've managed to source, which are demonstrators and used aircraft, and we're buying them at below market prices, distress sales. Those aircraft, as soon as we take ownership and title, they will go back on the market under the BitJet fund. However, in the time when they do sell, we will obviously be chartering out, therefore giving us a return on our investment while we're getting there. Now, our plan is to have 16 ultra long range and biz jets in the marketplace, but we are starting small to get up there. I think by the end of the year we aim to have a minimum of 6 jets in the fund, and we've already, we've already got 3 that we are just closing on with our angel investor at the moment. The charter market, as we said before, we're not planning to charter ourselves. They will be available on Aviation because that's one of the best systems in the marketplace for chartering of jets. and they will be floating bases. So therefore, ultimately, having floating bases means we can move those aircraft to where we need to. And because we are not going into the management of the aircraft per se, we have the ability to move those jets where the high density of traffic at times of the year are required. So we're not really tied to any one base in that respect. Our model, which has been stress tested by several banks, financial institutions, and also people who are far more intelligent than I have confirmed and have supported that our model stacks, and we envisage with the charter model alone that we can see a return of 12% in charter activity, which I'm sure someone will challenge me on, and I'll be able to answer to the best of my ability, but I'm not no financial expert on that side. But obviously where the fund will see the massive upside is obviously when we sell the aircraft. So with the security token offering, pretty straightforward from many offerings in the way that we are planning to do this, which has been signed off. Obviously the investors will put the money and get shares and get tokenized shares from the BitJet fund. Obviously the fleet management company, we will then manage to pass those aircraft out to aircraft operators, and then we have the charter clients coming from all the charter brokers around the world and also our own clients as well. Aircraft will go into an SPV, which will be owned by the fund, so therefore the ownership, because I know someone did ask me about that earlier, about the ownership of the fund and the ownership of jets and the title. So hopefully that's addressed that question in advance. One of the big questions about STOs and one of the big questions about ICOs and jet ownership and banking and finance laws has always been KYC and AML checks, because that is a big thing. We all have to follow those. So with an ICO, there are very few, if any, AML and AML checks and KYC checks. An STO, on the other hand, you have to have those checks complete. So whilst the fund will be responsible to AML and KYC their investor, even for 100,000, that will then stick up and stack into the scenario, so that when we have an aircraft purchase, and even if we end up doing some debt, then we have true traceability of the funds coming through, even through the STO, which goes back to what I said earlier. The STO is a regulated product. Why does it work? Why does it work? The high liquidity of the jets and the STO will give a marketplace that is right, and the time is right for this now with investors. They're looking for new investments. The fund generates the return by acquiring the jets, chartering out, and then selling them. Traditional business model, nothing new there. And with our returns, we are set to make between 12 and 20% for our investors. So again, it's not a bad return. All the contracts will be smart contracts using blockchain. Just to give you a little bit more about STOs, because if you're new to the STO world, what are STOs being used for at the moment? STOs, currently there are 85 STOs in circulation. Some of them have dropped off, most of them are still going and succeeding. STOs have been used to fund anything from property. There's a company in London that have raised, I think about 700 million for an STO on buying property. And the way they're doing it is they're buying distressed sale property, they're doing it up and then they're selling it or renting it out in the meantime. STOs have also been used in Indonesia to build infrastructure. The government have released STOs on a massive infrastructure project. So the STOs do work, they are regulated and they are supported, and there's a history behind them. Our last slide, I mean obviously looking at the types of jets that we are looking at, again, nothing set in stone, but the first jet I can announce that we are buying is an A330 VVIP aircraft. And the reason we're going for that is because we already have secured 2 contracts with 600 hours on each of that aircraft. So that aircraft will be taken into our possession within the next 30 days, and we'll be going straight down to a region to start seeing its charter return. One of the things that we have looked at and we spent a lot of time at, and I'll take any challenges on this, but when you look at the charter market, which data can be supplied from WingX and also from Alamode, but the chartering market is growing. It's growing slowly in the low and the mid sections, but in the heavy jet and in the bizliner and in the ULR range, that marketplace is growing and it's set to continue to do so. Gone are the days where the high net worth individuals, because of their busy time, the investors, some of the investors in the room that are very, very busy, if they're flying private, up until now, if they want to go from London to Singapore or London to Asia, it's always a fuel stop. So that fuel stop does take a little bit more time and inconvenience. They want to get on a flight from Asia and fly to London, or from Asia and fly to the US. They can do it commercially. The technology in the aircraft are available now. They want to do that. Do they want to necessarily spend their 90 million on buying or 70 million buying a G650 and having to sit there for a while? A lot of them don't. They still want to charter. What we're also seeing in the charter market is people that do have a jet themselves. A lot of clients that may have a legacy or a mid to heavy jet. They love flying privately, but they don't necessarily want to have go on their jet for a 13-hour flight, so they will look to charter a ULR or a BizJet. And we also believe that with the increase of millionaires and billionaires that is growing, especially in a certain region, which I'm sure you're aware of, where there is about 2 or 3 millionaires created every day, these new young millionaires are coming through. They want to experience chartering. The market's opening up in that area for chartering. But when people get onto a BizJet, and a BizJet is an A320, which has been with 19 seats just in time, and the new one that they are threatening to launch is the A220 with 19 seats. But to get on an Airbus that many of you may have flown in from Europe on, which has its 140 seats, but to get on one of those with 19 seats on it is the true lapse of luxury. The shower's good as well, and you also get your bedroom. So, and the fact that you can fly on one of those down to Asia in comfort with 19 people, if you wish to do so, is the way that the market seems to be going from the information that we've received and the reports that we've studied. So that's the STO, that's the BizJet fund, that is being launched, and the official launch date is March the 31st. So you've had the update first. It's being launched in Asia on March the 31st. By Polymath, who are the people that are supporting, and have got 82 STOs out there, and it will be launched in Korea and Singapore simultaneously on the 31st of March. Thank you.
Right, we haven't got a huge amount of time, and there's lots of questions.
Oh, lots? Really?
Hundreds. Does anyone want to make a comment or a question from the audience? Steve?
Come on, Steve. Come on, Steve. Come on, Steve.
I don't understand the difference between a private placement and the STO.
What's the difference between a private placement and an STO?
You get a token. You get the token, exactly. It's a new buzzword that people are looking for. You're exactly right. I mean, that's my understanding. That's my understanding of it. I'm quite sure there's going to be somebody that can be a little bit more specific on it. Maybe Sandra might want to comment on that a little bit to help me out here. But having a token gives people a little bit. If the asset of your investment is secured on that token.
Okay, let's just find a quick question.
Yeah. What's the difference? It's like we've
done that.
We've done that.
Sorry.
Which one do you want to go?
Will the fund have any leverage? Are you looking to raise debt?
It's always an option. Yes, we've been offered some leverage from certain financial institutions. So yes, is the answer.
And I guess finally, concept of buying and selling at margin is already existent. Fractional companies have done a great job of outgrowing the market, but they probably haven't done such a great job of making money. What's different about this? Everyone will tell you how hard it is to make money in aircraft charters.
Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know that. The difference being is that a lot of companies that do fractional, they're looking at it from a holistic point of view. They go and buy the jet. They then manage the jet in-house. They then got to have the services. They've got to have the support. They've got to have the maintenance. They've got to have everything. They want to keep everything within their own little bubble. We're not doing that. We're effectively a bank, if you want to put it in another word. The fund has the flexibility to do what we want. where if a high net worth individual came to us and said, I want to buy this aircraft, and he's been turned down or isn't necessarily secure enough to take traditional finance, and if we've got the capacity, we can finance that aircraft for somebody. We're not looking at, taking all these scenarios. We effectively will be a cross between a financier, a lease operator, and also and have these assets. We want to make sure these assets work. In one of the other conferences where we have a lot of the bankers available to have, they have assets which they've taken back off people for non-payment, and they're sitting on these assets. This is such a crying shame. They've got these assets, they're sitting parked up, doing nothing, and these assets are rotting, and they're trying to sell them. So let's make these assets work. We're exactly the same. We know there's a marketplace there. There is a marketplace and a demand for ULRs and BizJets. We want to tap into that market. We want to get these aircraft into the fund, and then we want to basically give them to operators to operate for us.
Great. And of the audience, 14% want to invest. I'd just like to make it clear that the value of your aircraft can go up as well as down.
Exactly.
And usually they go down. Thanks.
That's a sick joke after.
No. Okay, thanks very much, Andy. I talk about value.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Well, what?
Boeing.
Then you know that's your mind. Thank you very much.